So it's been like a month since the last For All the Dogs update video, and a lot's happened since then, so let's not waste any time. On tour, Drake announced the album will be called For All the Dogs and is currently being mixed by 40, no surprise there. We obviously thought that Noah 40 would be involved in the production of the album. That obviously doesn't mean he will be the only producer. Like I mentioned in the previous video, NEX seems like a likely producer to feature on the album given their collaboration on Search and Rescue, and this has been further supported by the fact that the Drake and Travis Scott cut from Utopia featured Benny X, and I believe Benny X is involved with Drake's It's All a Blur tour with 21 Savage. Now obviously, like I mentioned in the first video, there have been some unreleased snippets that we are assuming are from the album, but we don't know who the producers are on that. It doesn't sound like Benny X from the beats that we've heard, but you know, it could be 40, it could be someone else. But yeah, like having multiple producers is very normal for any Drake album. Speaking of unreleased snippets, we actually got a full unreleased track called Tried Our Best that leaked in July. If you haven't heard it, you can probably find it on the internet somewhere. It's more of an R&B track, and given what Drake's been saying about how For All the Dogs will go back to the old Drake, if you listen to it, it sounds like the new Drake trying to sound like the old Drake. Like, it does definitely have that vibe of the old Drake. Doesn't sound like any of the R&B output he's put out recently, but at the same time it doesn't sound like, you know, it's a track taken from 2010 and leaked now. Like, it's definitely new Drake putting a spin on his old style. Now, there were no features on this track, unlike the other snippet we heard, which had backing vocals from Lil Yachty. However, Drake has announced some features who will appear on the album, first being Nicki Minaj, longtime collaborator of Drake, last seen together on Seeing Green, but hasn't been on a Drake song as a feature for like a really long time. I think since Take Care. She's had guest appearances, voice work on CLB and Scorpion, but yeah, she hasn't had a feature for a long time. This once again agrees with the fact that Drake's going back to his old style, as he's collaborating with someone he used to do in the past. Another confirmed feature is Bad Bunny, who has collaborated with Drake on Mia and the remix of Party Next Door's Loyal. Bad Bunny is a megastar, and he makes a lot of music in the R&B reggaeton type of genre, which Drake is obviously familiar with, so I'm sure whatever they're cooking up is going to be good. But this is an interesting feature, as on Mia, Drake is singing Spanish, and I'm not sure if he would do that on his own album. Now, those two are the only confirmed features, but obviously, like I said, Lil Yachty was on one of the snippets, only doing backing vocals as far as we know, but he easily could be a feature given his closeness with Drake. Another feature people have been saying is either confirmed or likely to be on the album is J. Cole, and that's because of this clip from Drake's tour.
Friends, hopefully an album, right? Hopefully an album that I can get on, maybe I can get on the album. Can I get on the album? I'm gonna ask in front of Montreal. J. Cole, can we get on your album? You know, that's for me. Say less, goddammit! Now,
in my opinion, that just looks like Drake asking to be on J. Cole's album. I feel like if Cole was going to be on the album and Drake brought him to his show, they would announce that clearly, that J. Cole will feature on For All the Dogs, but it wasn't said. It was just Drake asking to be on J. Cole's album, so I don't think J. Cole will appear on For All the Dogs, but I do think other features like 21 Savage could be likely as well. Now obviously Drake dropped the On the Radar freestyle with Central C. I don't think that will feature on the album. It doesn't really sound like an album track from Drake, and given that it was released on the Radar, it doesn't seem like it will appear on the album. When that freestyle came out, Drake said the album will be dropping in a couple of weeks. Now, it's been more than 2 weeks since then, but obviously a couple of weeks doesn't actually have to mean 2 weeks, but it is an interesting conversation to speculate when this album will drop, because I think a couple of weeks reasonably can be anything under 2 months, because if it's 2 months, you would say a couple of months. Even if it's a month, you could get away with saying a couple of weeks, but if it's multiple months, saying a couple of weeks, that's just a bit, you know, like, why didn't you just say months? But Obviously, it's Drake, he can drop whenever he wants. But the interesting thing about this release date, more than anything, is the fact that Drake is currently on tour. Now, artists don't usually drop music when they're on tour because it will be unfair to the people who went to the earlier shows compared to those who went to the later ones who get the new music performed live. So artists don't usually like to drop whilst they're on tour. So is Drake gonna wait till the end of the tour? Well, the tour is supposed to end in October. So if you say in a couple of weeks in August and then it comes out in October, that's just mad. Like, he could have just said after the tour. So that means maybe he will drop while he is still on tour. So that means realistically he could drop any week. And we have seen that Drake has performed Meltdown, the song from Utopia, which obviously wasn't released at the start of the tour, and he has performed it now. So Drake isn't opposed to performing new music while he's on tour, but then you can make the argument obviously that it's not his album. He wasn't in control really of when that could come out, whereas with his album it's a bit different. He can release it whenever he wants to. So when do you guys think it will drop? I'm thinking September. I don't think he'll wait all the way to October, because that's just like, why didn't he just say that, you know? I do think he will perform some of For All the Dogs while he's still on tour. But let me know in the comments when you think the album will drop. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. Like I've said at the start of the video, I've already made an update video on For All the Dogs when it was announced, so if you haven't checked that one out, go and do that. You might find out some things you didn't know. I'm going to be covering the release of For All the Dogs and more, so make sure to subscribe so you don't miss those videos. With that being said, I'll see you in the next one.